evening, everyone. How are we all doing? Welcome back to another live on the channel. As you can see, it's not just me tonight. We're here with Harry, as you can see, who's an Aston Villa fan. Harry, mate, how are we tonight?
I'm good, yeah. Delighted to see, obviously, Dino back in management once again. But also delighted that Villa are currently 6th in the Premier League. Just thought I'd throw that out there. 8 games to play. I'm not expecting Europe or anything like that because we have got some really tough fixtures. We've got to play a lot of the teams still around us. And after the start that we had under Gerrard, I'm not expecting Emery to come in and get Europe straight away. But it would be nice, wouldn't it? But yeah, everything's going well on my end. I'm not sure about you. You're not 19th in the league, yeah?
19th, yeah, mate. It's just mad, isn't it? If you think, I said this to you the other day, didn't I? If you said that a few years ago, Villa had Emery and we had Dean Smith, it would have been crazy to think that. But yeah, here we are. But yeah, tonight we're going to be discussing a bit on Dean Smith. As you can probably tell, Harry's going to know quite a lot about Dean Smith. He was at Villa for about 3 years, weren't he? So you'll pretty much know everything about him. But yeah, just we do, drop a like on the stream. Get involved in the chat if you've got any questions for Harry. Go and follow Harry on all the socials. You can follow him on Twitter as well. Harry Batters will go through them at the end. But yeah, first of all then, first question to you, Harry, is what can we really expect from Dino?
It's a bit of a tricky one, actually, because everywhere he's been, Smith, like apart from maybe Norwich, it's been like a project. Like he started at Warsaw, 4 years there, moved to Brentford, 3 years there, came to Villa, 3 years there. And every season where he's been at a club, there's been constant progression. Obviously, Villa, he came in when we were mid-table in the Championship. We got promoted first time of asking. Obviously survived in the Premier League first season, and then the season after that we were pushing top half. I think we finished 11th, and then obviously Grealish left and whatnot, and that's obviously that led to our downfall and obviously sacking him and getting Gerrard in. But obviously at Norwich it didn't really work out. He didn't really get backed financially, and obviously they got relegated, and then he didn't really get off to a good start in the Championship with Norwich. But yeah, obviously you've got him in on an interim basis, so it's a bit weird. It's not something he'll be used to. He'll be used to going into a football club with the idea of being there for a long time, and constant progression. In my opinion, he isn't the sort of manager to come in straight away and get the ground running and ultimately keep you just till the end of the season, keep you up. He isn't that sort of manager. He needs time. He came in at Villa and it took him a while to get get the ball rolling, if you like. Obviously we had that 10-game win streak in the Championship, and that's what's got us promoted. But before then we were like bang average with the squad that we had as well in the Championship. We should have been doing much better. But yeah, I feel like there isn't. I want to say it's a good appointment because for the people that are out there available at the moment, he probably is a good appointment. But when you think of it, you've brought him in with just the intention of keeping you up. I don't know whether that's the right decision, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's one of them, really. Just like you said, I don't think there was anyone else really to get better. I think I think the package alone, though, with mostly Shakespeare and Terry is giving me a bit more confidence. I think with Smith alone, if I would have been a bit more. Obviously, we were a little with Jesse March and stuff as well. But obviously, at Aston Villa, he kept you guys up in the 2019-20 year. I've got an image of the team. I don't know if this is exactly what the starting lineup was, but it's just an example. But as you can see from there, the quality of that team is pretty poor, and you'll probably admit that as well. You've got big man like Engels at centre back, big Wesley up top, El Ghazi. But I think he's got experience in keeping teams up, and if he can do it with that team, I don't really see why he can't do it with Leicester. So it's just one of them, though. It's just like you said, though. It's that hitting the ground running. That's what we need right now. But obviously, we have got Man City on Saturday, and then into some big games. But my next question is, how did he really go in the big games? Obviously, I think he must have played Birmingham City at least once. So how did he fare in those pretty important games?
Yeah, he's got a 100% record against Blues while at Villa. We beat him 4-2 at Villa Park, and then we obviously beat him 1-0 at St Andrews, where Grealish got punched and then scored the winner. But if you're talking about just sheer big games against the Big Six and whatever, you got to think back to that 7-2 against Liverpool, the 3-0 where we did the double against Arsenal. We beat them 3-0 at the Emirates and then 1-0 at Villa Park. We beat Chelsea on the last day. Remember when you lost to Tottenham and you were going to get top 4? We beat Chelsea to help you, and then you lost to Tottenham, didn't you?
Let's move on to
that. We beat Tottenham the week before that as well. So I think, I do think when it comes to big games, I'd say he's done all right. I think, I don't think we lost to Chelsea in his final full season. I think, did we lose at Stamford Bridge or draw? I can't remember. But when it comes to playing Big Six teams, he did do half decent. But I'd probably say our squad in our second season in the Prem was probably a little bit better than yours, because obviously we had Grealish and that, and he was carrying us at the time. Watkins then was better than Vardy is now. I think it's fair to say. It's sad to see what's happened to Vardy, obviously, but that's what happens with age. We had Martinez in goal, who's considerably better than Danny Ward. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, I'd like to think he will keep you up, because I like him as a manager. He's my favourite manager of all time. But I'm not going to sit here and say he'll work wonders, because he isn't that sort of manager. Tactically, he's not great, but his man management is what kept him in the job for so long at Villa. There's so many players at Villa now that will tell you that they looked at Dean Smith like he was a bit of a father figure. Likes of Ezri Konsa, Ollie Watkins, both brought with him from Brentford. Jack Grealish always speaks highly of Dean Smith, calls him a father figure, and stuff like that. But just because of the way he is as a bloke, he honestly is a lot. Someone who goes to a school near where he's from and stuff, near where he lives. I know people that know him. He is a really nice bloke, and I know that won't keep you up in the Premier League, but it is something that has helped him stay in jobs in the past, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds positive, really, and I think we'll talk tactics a bit later. But I think at this point in the season, obviously tactics are important, but you've got 8 games left. It's a right battle. We're playing teams around us. At times, it's not really going to come down to the tactics. Really, it's going to be behind that fight and that grit. And we've got Alfie in the chat. We've got Everton in a few weeks as well, which is going to be a massive game. But let's get into the chat quickly tonight. If you guys have got any questions for Harry, we're going to talk a bit more about tactics and stuff later. But if you've got any, feel free to put them in the chat. But even to Big Josh, what a name, Jerry as well. Just about to say, Villa's fixtures are difficult. Europe is a push, but on fire right now. Thoughts on that? So?
We've got some massive games coming up. Newcastle at home this Saturday, and then I think it's who's it after that? It's Brentford away after that, then Fulham at home on a Tuesday night, then United away. We have got some really tough games, to be fair, and a lot of the games that we've still got to play against teams around us. We've still got to go to Anfield. Obviously, they're just below us at the moment. We've got to play Brighton at home on the last game of the season. That could be massive, especially if there's only a few points in it. If we beat them, we could go above them and potentially finish in a European place. So, I think, I know it's cliche, but I just think the lads should take it one game at a time. I know it's cliche. I know a lot of footballers say, we're not looking at getting Europe or whatever. We're just looking at taking games taking things one game at a time. But it will obviously be in the back of the players' minds getting Europe. But the way I look at it, I'm not expecting us to get Europe. We got off to an awful start under Gerrard. Emery's come in and worked absolute wonders with the same team that Gerrard had, sitting 17th in the league. So, I'm not expecting Europe. If I'm honest, I'd take Europa League in a heartbeat, but Conference League, I feel like that would be a bit of a nose, I'll be completely honest, because I know you said, I said that to you the other day, and you were like, it's actually all right. Like when we play PSV, the atmosphere is good and stuff, but I don't know, I just feel like I'd rather us not get anything this season and then go for a proper Europa League or maybe even Champions League push like Newcastle have done this season. Do you know what I mean? I just think Conference League can, it might disrupt our Premier League season at what cost? You know what I mean? It's not like a huge honour, is it? Do you know what I mean? And obviously Emery's got experience in the Europa League as well, so that would be a big advantage. But we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I think to be fair, it'd be good to talk about European football for us, wouldn't it? But sadly, we're in this situation. I said it a few times. I said it last night. I think we were on the exact same points when you sacked Gerald, and obviously Brendan's done a lot more for Leicester than Gerald's done for you. But you've gone and acted quickly, sacked him, and brought in a world class and elite manager in Emery, and look what's happened. And the Leicester board sat and waited, divvied around, and look at the situation now. So I think the appointment of Emery was very good. I'm quite jealous, to be fair, and we'll see what happens with that one. But I'm going to talk a bit on tactics right now. We're going to go a bit more from Dean Smith's latest season, or this last year for Villa. We're going to look at some defensive things because that's what we need to work on. And obviously, you said earlier, defensively he's not the best. So do you want to expand on that and why were you not that great defensively?
To be fair, we had that one season where we finished 11th, obviously, and we were really good defensively. We finished, I think we had the 7th best defence in the league or something. And I think that was purely down to just the consistency within the back five. We had Martinez in goal pretty much every week, Cash at right back, Conser and Mings at centre back, and Target left back, and there wasn't really much rotate. You had the occasional game where Al Mohammadi came in for Cash. Or Courtney House came in for Tyrone Mings. I know towards the end of the season, I think Cash got injured and Conser played right back, and then we had House and Mings at the back. But realistically, there was just a lot of consistency between the back five. They got used to playing with each other, and with that came a lot of chemistry and just understanding of each other and the way each other play. And obviously, when you're playing for a manager under Dean Smith, who likes to build from the back and play out from the back, that obviously benefits the rest of the team if the back line have an understanding of each other. I think I'll be honest. I think a lot of our defensive success in that season was also down to John Terry as well. It can't be underestimated. It's no coincidence that as soon as John Terry left the football club, our defence just went on a downward spiral and we started shipping more and more goals. Because nothing really changed. The back line stayed pretty much the same, but John Terry just wasn't there behind the scenes. Improving things defensively, if you like. I feel like if you've got a consistent back four who've got a good understanding of the way each other play, which you should realistically, you're pretty much 3/4 of the way through the season now. Your players should have an understanding of, who plays best where and whatnot. Do you get what I mean? So if your players have got a good understanding of each other, especially at the back, I feel like you will do well under Dean Smith. I feel like John Terry coming is a big plus as well, because he really helped us defensively. And he transformed Ezri. That was a season when Ezri Conser was really good. He's still a very good centre back, but he was very, very good, like exceptional that season. I'll probably say he was definitely like top 10 centre halves in the league, and I'm not even being biased when I say that. I loved Ezri Conser that year. He was genuinely so good. So I think. Like I said, if your players, especially your defenders, have got a good understanding of each other and know the way each other play, you should be all right. But it's just about that, isn't it? Because I know there's a lot of different characters within that Leicester squad, so it's just a bit interesting.
Yeah, I was going to mention Terry. I think that's massive because if you look at this year, Leicester haven't had a problem attacking really, because I think we're top 10 most goals scored out of any team. Start the season, where obviously we lost like 6-2 to Tottenham, 5-2 to Brighton. We were still scoring goals, so I don't think that's the issue. Yeah. But just like I said, I think Terry's influence will be massive, not just defensively. I think the players are obviously going to respect someone like John Terry coming in, and I think he can have a big influence on the whole team as well. But I think defensively that's been our downfall as we all know. But it's going to be interesting. Do you think it's going to be a back four? We'll talk about the formation later, but let's say it's a back four. It's probably going to be Iverson. I personally go with Ricardo. I think Suter and Faz are a good partnership. I think some people who don't watch Leicester week in, week out obviously scored the 2 goals at Anfield. But I think them two are solid, and obviously you've got Christensen at left back who's done well and obviously got injured a few weeks ago, but now he is back. But let's talk formations then. At Villa, I think he mainly played with a 4-3-3, didn't he?
It depends on the way you look at it. I always looked at it as a 4-2-3-1 with a double pivot of Louise and McGinn. But I suppose you can look at it as a 4-3-3 as well. He experimented with a few shots. I've got a few notes on my phone, so if you keep seeing me looking down, that's why. But yeah, he experimented with a few shapes. I know in the towards the very end of his spell at Villa, he played a back three occasionally. I remember when we beat Everton 3-0 when Bailey scored. I know we played a back three in that game.
This one here, on the screen.
I think it might be, yeah. I think so. Yeah, here it is, yeah. Because two and Zebby's there. Yeah, it would have been. So yeah, we played a back three a few times. We played obviously tried two up front with Ings and Watkins. But the main setup and the setup that we saw the best football played under Dean Smith was the 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, however you want to look at it. Like I said, there was a consistency within the back five: Martinez, Cash, Conser, Mings, Target. When you consistently use the same players, especially at the back, they get a good understanding of each other, and ultimately, know how to play together as a unit week in, week out. That you get a good understanding, a good chemistry between the players, and that ultimately leads to clean sheets. We had the seventh best defence in the league that season. And obviously, like I mentioned, John Terry and stuff as well. And obviously, it's a big plus that you've got John Terry as assistant. The midfield usually consisted of a double pivot of Louise and McGinn. And then the number 10, the number 10 was Jacob Ramsey when he was breaking through, or Ross Barkley. Obviously, we had him on loan for that season. So yeah, I think usually the double pivot had Louise sitting the deepest out of the two. His job was to dictate play as well as break up play. It didn't really suit him, I'll be completely honest. Louise is better a bit further up the pitch in a more progressive role. But he did okay, and I think if Smith goes for a similar sort of setup at Leicester, I think Ndidi will suit the role considerably more than Douglas Luiz did, because he's got that physical presence as well as being good on the ball. I'm not too sure, clued up on your injuries or whatever. I'm not sure whether Ndidi's injured or not, but yeah, if Ndidi's fit, or Papi Mendy, I know he's played a few games this season. If they're fit, they can both definitely do the role Douglas Luiz did. Maybe not as good because he's exceptional, but we'll move on. But yeah, I think the arrival of Barkley and the breakthrough of Jacob Ramsey meant that John McGinn could drop back into a box-to-box right in the season where we just about avoided relegation. He was played as a more progressive midfielder, creative midfielder, progressive dribbler, and as much as he did okay, and it suited him. He's much better playing in the deeper role as a box-to-box, getting up and down. That's where McGinn thrives. And obviously, then you had either Ross Barkley. I know Barkley was underwhelming for us, but you had Barkley or Jacob Ramsey, or even Morgan Sanson when he came in towards the end for a few games. You had those players as the more creative outlets within the squad. Obviously, like I said, Barkley was underwhelming for us, and Jacob Ramsey at the time was only a young kid, but that's what Smith liked to go for. The front three consisted of obviously the talisman, Jack Grealish on the left, and obviously the captain as well. And then on the right, you had El Ghazi, Traore or Trezeguet. A lot of rotation between them throughout the season. I know you love Bertrand Traore, don't you, Josh? And then and Trezeguet as well. Actually, I know you love him too. So yeah, I feel like having the option to rotate between those three players on the right was good, because you could have, if you were playing against a side where you knew you were going to be up against it a little bit, you could play the more defensively stronger one in Trezeguet, knowing that he also has that pinpoint cross. It's a shame he don't have Albrighton. You still don't have Albrighton, because I think he'd do well in the role that Trezeguet played for us, Mr. Whippy. But yeah, I think so if you wanted a winger that was strong defensively, you could have had Trezeguet. If you wanted a winger who could be direct and offer a threat physically, you could have El Ghazi. And if you wanted a winger who could cut inside and create, you could have Bertrand Traore. Obviously, Ollie Watkins, he was superb for us in that season when we finished 11th. His arrival revolutionised us as a side. after spending the last year watching Wesley, Samatta, and Keenan Davis all try to lead the line, it was, it wasn't great. Having Watkins up front was really refreshing for Villa fans. His relentless pressing, blistering pace, runs in behind, all offered us something. And obviously he could drop deep and link play with the midfielders, which obviously is something that the likes of Samatta and Wesley and whatnot struggle to do. And as for Grealish, I could sit here and talk all day about Grealish under Smith because he was genuinely sensational.
He was, yeah.
A lot of people say Villa's success under Smith was all down to Grealish, and when you look at it from outside, you can probably where they're coming from. Smith comes in the Championship, gets off to a good start. Grealish gets injured, we start to struggle, and then he comes back. We win 10 games in a row, get promoted, and then in his last year at Villa, he got injured in February. I remember we were playing you, and he got injured. I don't know if you remember that, but I remember we were talking about it before we did a little live watch along in lockdown. So he got injured in February of that season, obviously, and we only won 3 out of our 12 games without him. So I think it probably is fair to say that Smith's success at Villa probably was down to Jack Grealish. But it also went both ways. You look at Smith, he knew how to get the best out of a player like Jack Grealish, and that's why he was so good and eventually ended up getting sold for 100 million. And I think if you take the best player out of any team who's heads and shoulders above everybody else around him, like take Kane out of Tottenham or Declan Rice out of West Ham or Ruben Neves out of one. I know they're not similar players to Grealish, but it's a similar situation that they are all heads and shoulders above everyone else at their football club. So I feel like if you take the best player who is considerably better than everybody else around him out of any side, they will do considerably worse. And obviously that's what happened with Dean Smith when we sold Grealish. We really struggled, went on a 5-game losing streak, and obviously that's what got him the sack. Something that does excite me actually is James Maddison under Dean Smith, because obviously we've made comparisons about Maddison and Grealish in the past. They are similar players, and it will be really interesting to see if Smith can have that effect on James Maddison. Obviously Maddison's been really good for you this season. I know he's had the captain's armband a few times. I feel like it will be interesting to see what Dean Smith can do with James Maddison, because there are definitely similarities with him and Jack Grealish.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be very interesting. I got something different. I know you said you usually played a back four, but right now Barnes went off against Bournemouth with a hamstring injury, and that obviously just leaves us with Tete and pretty much no other winger. So if Barnes is injured for the rest of the season, I can see him probably playing a back five. And if you talk about Maddison, obviously you said, people said that the success is down to Grealish and stuff, but you could argue the same about James Maddison, just like you said. I think James Maddison's the reason why Leicester are not 10, 15 points adrift this year, because at times he's absolutely carried us. So, but I think formation wise, it's going to be very interesting. He's got his first press conference on Friday, I think it is. So we're getting a slight update on the fitness of Harvey Barnes, but I think the return of Tielemans could be good as well. I'd be interested to see how Smith works with him. I think it'd be a similar, let's hope Barnes is fit, because obviously he's on form right now. He did score against you, beautiful stuff. But we'll have to see. But I think if we do go with the back five, I'll bring it up again because if Barnes is injured, it is a hamstring, so there is a large chance he could be out for a while. I really could see us potentially going the back five if I can actually find the image. Hold on. Where is it? Just disappeared. Beautiful. There it is. But if we did play the back five, we could have two up top as well. Obviously, we have got options. Obviously, you had Watkins, who was the more running in behind. I know you said he came short a bit more, but I think Danny. I think with Leicester, obviously you got Vardy and Daka with the more pacey options, and Iheanacho, who's a bit better, who's slightly better to feet. So it's going to be interesting. But how let's say Barnes is injured and Leicester have to go with the back five. What type of players do you think Smith would use? Because we've got options everywhere. Obviously in midfield, we've got lots of Tielemans. He said in the holding role, we've got Mendy and Didi, Samare. You've got players like Duzbekul as well. We've got Maddison in there, just like I said, and the strikers up top as well. So it'd be interesting.
I feel like I can't. To be honest, I can't really remember us playing the back five much, so it's a bit interesting. It's a bit hard to say. I don't know. I think obviously, I know Christensen and Pereira are probably better going forward than defensively. I haven't really watched much of that Christensen lad, but that's just what I've heard. And I know Pereira's a bit. I know Pereira's more stronger going forward than he is defensively. He's good at both, obviously, but so maybe a wing back role may suit them. I'm not sure. Is Soyuncu still fit? I'm not sure who your back three would be. I know you said Sutar and
he's fit. Right, Brendan just pretty much gassed him out of the team, really.
Oh right, okay, so, fair enough.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's gonna be interesting to see he comes back. He did the same to Vestergaard as well. So
I mean that's always a good thing with a manager coming in. If players haven't really got on with the previous manager, it's a chance for them to have a complete refresh, if you like, and just it's a new start, a fresh start for everybody at the club, isn't it? So you might see a few of them players come back in. I know when I've seen a few players such as Morgan Sanson and whatnot struggle to get in the team with 3 different managers. So whether that's going to be the case with the likes of Vestergaard and Soyuncu from now, new managers come into Leicester and struggle to get the best out of them. I'm not sure, but I think Soyuncu is more than capable at this level. He was good enough for you 3 years ago, weren't he? So I feel like he still has got something to offer. How old is he now, Soyuncu? I suppose he's like 27, 28, something like that, isn't
he? Yeah, he's still quite young-ish.
Yeah, so I don't know. I know. Well, obviously, like I said, John Terry coming in, he might be able to help the likes of Vestergaard and Soyuncu as well, because obviously he helped shore us up defensively. I feel like Smith, although he plays as a defender in his playing career, he was better at like understanding the attacking side of the game. Whether he just knows from experience of being up against attackers in his playing days, whether he just knows that what to expect and stuff like that, and what attackers can do best, and you get what I mean, don't you? So I feel like he understood the attacking side to the game a bit more than defensively. So I feel like if you're worried about how he's going to fit the likes of Maddison in, how he's going to fit Vardy, Dackery, and Nacho, whatnot. Obviously Barnes when he returns, Tete. Obviously, I know you haven't really been impressed with him apart from when he played against us at Villa Park. I wouldn't be too worried about how he's going to get the best out of those. At the end of the day, he did keep us up with the likes of Wesley and Sonata up front. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Your squad is considerably better than the one that he kept Villa up with, but obviously you've got to understand that the quality of the league's probably improved a lot more than then. And the relegation battle is so tight this year, and it really, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this before. When there's literally about 8 teams that could still go, it's just crazy. The thing is, this is what I mean. Like people will look at the bottom 3 now and think, that those 3 are all gonna be in it. But Smith could come in and win his first 3 games. I know you've got City, but just say for argument's sake, he comes in and wins his first 3 games. You could be up to about 14th, and relegation isn't even a worry. Do you know what I mean? So all it takes is a little new manager bounce. Even if it's 2 or 3 games, you could be up to about 14th, 13th, and relegation isn't even in the back of your mind. You're just focusing on getting the season over and done with, renewing Smith's contract potentially, and moving on. I personally think renewing, if he was to keep you. To be fair, even if he was to take you down, I'd probably say he's probably the best manager out there to be able to bring you back up. He's got experience of getting teams out of the league. I know he didn't really do very good at Norwich last season. Well, this season, sorry, but he wasn't really backed financially. If you back him financially, he will do well. I know from experience, if you back him financially, get the players that he wants, he'll do all right. He won't be the manager to take you back to finishing in the top 6 and whatnot, because he can only take teams so far. He took Villa as far as he possibly could, mid-table, stabilise us in the league, but it could definitely be the start of something at Leicester. If you get me, like if it keeps you up. Just say you finish 17th like we did, last day survive or whatever. Give him another year or 2. If you back him in the summer, get players in that he wants, he'll stabilise you next season, and then give him another chance to try and take you even further, maybe even into the top half or back into the European places. And if he doesn't do that, then obviously you sack him and improve. Obviously we didn't improve because we've got Gerrard in, but now we've got Emery. Now we've got Emery, and obviously that's a significant improvement on Dean Smith. But you've got to look at it. We wouldn't be where we are without Dean Smith. Emery's Villa wouldn't be 6th in the Premier League without Dean Smith. Same as Thomas Frank's Brentford, they wouldn't be 9th in the league without Dean Smith, because he started the project at Brentford in the Championship, just like he started the project at Villa in the Championship. Obviously, he took Villa further than he took Brentford. So another thing as well, if you were to keep him, he loves signing players that he's worked with before. I know at Brentford he took Rico Henry, the left back, and Romain Sawyers, who I think he's currently at West Brom. I could be wrong, but I know he was at West Brom a few years ago. He took them from Walsall to Brentford. From Brentford to Villa, obviously he took Konsa and Watkins. And obviously he worked with Jota Pelitero. Remember the Spanish winger? He worked with him before at Brentford as well, and he brought him from Blues to Villa. I think when he was at Brentford, he sold him to Blues, and then obviously when we got promoted, he brought him from Blues to Villa. And even when he was at Norwich, Jacob Ramsey's little brother Aaron, who's at Middlesbrough now, he signed him on loan at Norwich as well. So he likes to work with players that he's worked with before. So you could potentially have a few former Villa players on your hands next season. Bertrand Traoré could be a Leicester player next season. Who knows? But
that's a picture of the suit.
That's just a few things to know about him. I know he likes working with players that he's worked with before. I don't know. If it just say you were to sign some random attacker that you've never heard of, that was on me with Traoré, and obviously Traoré's ended up being a half decent signing for us. So if he was to sign some random attacker for you that you've never heard of, I'd back him, because they probably will come good, because he understands the attacking side to the game much more than defensively, which is obviously weird because he was a defender, but it's just the way it is.
Yeah, that sounds promising, really. And if you're talking about signing random players, Leicester, Riyad Mahrez, Vardy, Kante, etc. But obviously you said earlier on that Smith didn't really get the quickest of starts at Villa, but he has shown in the past. You went on that, was it 10-game win to get into the playoffs? If we could repeat even half of that, obviously it's in the Premier League, it's a bit different, but if we can repeat half of that, that's easy stuff. I think all Leicester need is 4 points, really, not 4 wins. A few draws, and then I think we'll be fine. I think 40 points this year is going to be it'll be about 35. I think to stay up this year, probably a few less than that. So
I think we stayed up with 35. I think I'm not sure, but I know we definitely didn't get 40.
Definitely it won't be 40. No chance. Even for 32, somewhere around that. But we'll have to see. Really, it's going to be obviously it's a massive 8 games or so, boys and girls, but. Yeah, I think from what Harry said, it's all positive. I'm going to get back into the chat. Just like I said, if you boys got any questions, feel free to let me know. Harry's got a good thread on Twitter. I'll link that I'll link that later on. So go give that a read as well. So, first to mate, Smith versus Dyche. That is going to be a big one, and that's what I mean. If we still had Rodgers, I wouldn't have backed this at all. But I just think just from Smith, he had his first training session today. He spoke about the basics and the values. In his first interview, he accepted the fact that Leicester are obviously in a bad place, bad situation. It's going to be tough. And when I don't know if you'll know this, but when Rodgers was still here, every single press conference he banged on about saying we'll be fine. He kept saying it was a great coaching challenge. He also said obviously it was going to be his best managerial achievement if he got Leicester to stay up and stupid stuff like that. And I think. That's what annoyed the fans as well with us, and I don't know about you, but I think with Rodgers he should have gone absolutely ages ago. Leicester have only won games by 2. No, that's the thing. Leicester we never win games by small goal advantages either. But if Dean Smith and Terry particularly can come in and shore the defence up, I think we'll be fine. Right, Hayden, mate. Dean Smith's blue and white army. Yeah,
that's so weird seeing that.
I know. I was going to say it's mad, isn't it? It's lacking compared to what it is now. Villa doing better without him. Yeah, that's true. But just like Harry said, Dean Smith set the foundations for Aston Villa's success right now. And if it weren't for him, they'll probably be in the Championship, maybe, because I know you were. If you went down and that's in the 2019-20 year, weren't you under some financial issues and stuff as well, or something?
Yeah. It's took a world-class manager to come in and do better than Dean Smith. Obviously Gerrard came in, and I think our points per game under Smith was towards the start of last season. Sorry, it was exactly the same as Gerrard's at Villa. So it's obviously took a world-class manager to come in and carry on those foundations that Smith built, which just shows how good he was for Villa, because he took us really far, considering we were mid-table in the Championship when he came in, and we were mid-table in the Prem when he left. So, yeah.
No, it's all positive, really. There was some talk earlier today from The Athletic that Potter could still be on the cards if Dean Smith was to keep us up. So,
yeah,
it'd be interesting. I think it does depend on the performances and how well we do play at times. But if Dean Smith can keep Leicester up, I wouldn't really be against it next year. But we just have to see. Tete could go left wing, maybe Ricard on the right. But yeah, we can take a stand here as a wing back as well. I think it's a Villa fan here. Yeah, we played a back five towards the end, as all managers do, so they can protect their job. So information was a 4-3-3 with 30 wingers. Yeah. So I think with a back five for Leicester, it just suits us a lot better, because when Ian actually plays, he always scores, and you'll know that best. He always scores against you, doesn't he? But
yeah,
I think if we can partner collectively with even Vardy or Daka, obviously Vardy and Daka are quite similar. I think that can get the best out of us, and obviously, just like you've been saying, Smith will get the best out of the attacking players, particularly someone like James Maddison, and Terry to shore up the defence as well. And we only spoke about Shakespeare, and I think that's massive as well for us. Obviously, he knows Leicester inside and out. He was with it for years before that as well. So, I think that's a big push as well. Do you have anything about Shakespeare and what he did for you guys?
Well, we didn't have him for Smith's first two seasons. We didn't have him, and then the season that we finished 11th, that's when he first. So Shakespeare coming in obviously ended up in us improving. The statistics say without Shakespeare we were in the Championship, and then we finished 17th, and then with Shakespeare we went straight up to 11th in the league. So something must have. I'm not sure what it was, but something must have changed behind the scenes, and something must have improved, because you don't go from finishing 17th to go in and finishing 11th for no reason. Do you know what I mean? I know we invested quite well, but still something must have gone on behind the scenes. Like I said, John Terry helped shore us up defensively, but Shakespeare must have done something right, and obviously Dean Smith did something right as well. I think, like I said with Smith, he's just a really nice bloke. A lot of players that he's worked with in the past, such as like Jack Grealish and whatever, have said they can look at him like a father figure. They can go and talk to him with about any of their worries, and I think that sort of relationship with a manager is always good to have. And Shakespeare comes across as the same sort of person, a nice bloke and whatnot. So yeah, he must have done something right behind the scenes, Shakespeare, and it's good that you've got that trio back together, because they did well at Villa.
Yeah, it's exactly that. And just like I said, I think the combination of them three works a treat, really. But we'll get into the final comments. I won't keep you for too long. We've been going on for quite a while, but obviously we were linked with Rafa as well at times. I think if you offered up the two of them, Dean Smith and obviously with Terry and Shakespeare, versus someone like Rafa, honestly, I'm not just saying that because he's here now. I would have took Dean Smith, because I think Rafa Benitez just isn't really the man for this. Like an 8-game run, he would have wanted a longer period at the club, not on an interim basis. So I think fair play to Dean Smith, John Terry, Shakespeare for coming in, taking on the challenge as well, because it's a difficult one. It's a big chance of having them relegation on their CV as well. So.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a win-win for Smith, in my opinion. He can come in and keep you up and say, almost revive his career, if you like. Because clubs will look at Dean Smith and see how poor he was with Norwich and think, I don't want to go near him. But if he comes in and keeps Leicester up, then that revives his career. And obviously, even if he doesn't stay at Leicester, it gives him opportunities elsewhere. People will look at what he's done at Leicester and fancy him when it comes to appointing managers. But if he was to take it down, he can just say, there's nothing that could have been done. And as sad as that might sound for you, that's what will ultimately happen.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, just like I said, it's win-win. If Leicester get relegated, we can't put the blame on Dean Smith at all. But just to wrap things up, here's Harry's thread on Twitter. Make sure to go and give that a read. Some of you may have already read it as well. It went around Leicester Twitter. But yeah, if you want to know a bit more about Dean Smith, feel free to give that one a read. Go and follow Harry on his socials as well. But finally then, I think the main question is, do you think Dean Smith will keep Leicester up?
I do, yeah. I'm on a back him. Like I said, he's my favourite manager of all time. I'll be rooting for Leicester for the rest of the season. Well, until he leaves. Actually, if he stays on for another year, I'll still be rooting. I mean, I've been to a Leicester game this season and I'll Walsall away. So I'm practically a fan now, But I think the players that you've got, like I said, Maddison, indeed, if he can stay, I know he's had a few injury problems in the last few years, but if you can keep him fit, if you can get the best out of Tielemans, if John Terry can shore you up defensively, if you can get the best out of the likes of Barnes, if he's fit, Tete. Obviously, Tete showed what he's all about against Villa. I know he hasn't really impressed for you since, but if you can get the best out of him, then I feel like the squad that you've got, there are definitely 3 worse squads in that relegation battle. I've said for a few weeks now, I can see Southampton going, I can see Leeds going, and it's just about that. It's just about that third place. So it's between you, Everton, and Bournemouth. I can see Bournemouth falling back off because they just haven't got that good of a squad, have they, really?
Yeah.
I feel like Everton might be fine now, to be honest, with Dyche. I've just knocked my tripod. But yeah, I feel like Everton will be fine with Dyche, and I feel like Leicester could be fine with Dean Smith. But yeah, he's going to be a good watch, the relegation battle. Obviously not for you because you'll be on edge all the time. But yeah, I feel like it will be a good watch. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm hoping Leicester can stay up there because I love Dino.
We love to see that, boys and girls. But yeah, I think personally, I think we can. There's definitely a more chance we can stay up. People watching, let us know in the chat. Bottom 3, will Leicester stay up or not? Feel free to let us know. Go and drop a like on the stream as well if you are enjoying. We're going to wrap it up in about 5 or so minutes time. But I think bottom 3, it's going to be. It's hard to predict. People say Southampton are down and out, but I still think you can't write them off. I know they're probably the worst team, but anything can happen. It's so close. But for me, I think Southampton, Forest, and I was on a stream last night. I said West Ham because I put a bet on West Ham to get relegated. But yeah, the fixtures for West Ham are tough, and it could be anyone. Before the weekend, I don't think many people would have said Leeds, but look at them now. Obviously, they got battered by Palace. I think Palace are long safe. I think Wolves are safe as well. I think just like I said with Sean Dyche and Everton, I think they're all right as well. So
I've said Leeds for ages. I said them even when they had Jesse Marsh that they'll go down, and they haven't improved since their new managers came in. So
you never know. Where do you think Villa will finish then? Conference.
You know that thing where you put all your predictions.
The predicted
thing. I did that the other day, and I had us down as 8th. So there's people saying that 8th place might go to Europe, but because it depends on the wins. FA Cup wins and whatever. But I'm not sure. Personally, like I said earlier, didn't I? I'd take Europa League in a heartbeat, but Conference League, I just feel like it'd be a bit of a nose to our season for next season because look at West Ham now. Do you get what I mean? They're about they're in a relegation battle at what cost really? They're still in the Conference League, but it's just a bit thin in my opinion. You're playing teams from Cyprus and stuff. That's just the way I look at it. I mean, if we'll probably get it, and I'll probably be buzzing, but it's just the way I'm thinking at the moment. I just don't really want Conference League. I take Europa League because I've always wanted Europa League at Villa, but obviously Conference League, it's a new competition. It's a bit tin pot at the moment. In a few years, it might it might improve, but at the moment it is seen as the tin pot one out of the three. So yeah.
Yeah, it's one of them really. I think the group stage is a bit, but I think for the knockouts it's good. Obviously, Leicester were obviously last year we were in the Europa League group stage and got obviously knocked down to the Conference League, and then we had Rennes, PSV, and Roma. You know, if you look at them three teams, we'd probably say they're at least Europa League. And a few years ago, we've seen a few of them in the Champions League as well. But I think this year the teams actually in the Conference League aren't as good. So I agree with you there.
I feel like with the Conference League as well, because it's played on the same day as Europa League, people just don't watch it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, it's Champions League's Tuesday and Wednesday. So then on a Thursday, when it's Europa League, people will watch Europa League. And obviously, there are some massive clubs in Europe. Like we've seen Barcelona and Man United in it this year. Do you know what I mean? Like there are some huge clubs in the Europa League, but because the Conference League is played at the same time as Europa League, people will choose to watch the higher standard of football, which is obviously the Europa League, and that's why I want Europa League, because it's a higher standard of football. And as much as I'd love Champions League football at Villa Park, we're not going to get it this season, and two, we're not ready for it, are we, realistically? So we'll have to wait and see, obviously. But I'm just happy with how we progressed under Emery, and I can only see it going one way from here, and that's up. And whether we compete for Europa League next season or even Champions League next season, like Newcastle have this season, we can only be it's a mystery at the moment, isn't it? But you'd like to think that's the direction that we can carry on going in.
100%. I think it's all up for you guys. You'll probably invest in the summer once again in some good players as well. So I think the only thing with obviously it's that Thursday Sunday thing though. It's a bit of a but I think you get used to that. But we'll have to wait and see. It could be anyone still. The battle for Europe, the battle for, as we know, the relegation is as close as ever. So it's going to be a very interesting last 8 games of the season. But that is where we're going to wrap things up tonight. A big thanks to Harry for coming on at the channel. Just like I said, make sure to go and check out his socials. Go and read his thread on Twitter as well if you haven't already. Drop a like on the stream if you have enjoyed it, boys and girls, and I'll probably be live once again tomorrow night. I might do a stream talking about the relegation zone as a whole and what will happen down there. And obviously, Friday will come the Man City content for Dean Smith's first game in charge at Leicester for Man City away. Perfect start. But boys, thanks for coming in. Thank you, Harry, for coming on, just like I said, and I'll see you boys later in a bit, boys. Up to Leicester.